Amid the pulse of Manhattan, the avenues once fueled by drive now carry the burden of those cast aside. Above 100,000 souls hunt for safety every dusk, not within the warmth of houses, but through the darkness of a town that pledges success for many. Kinfolk soldiers and seekers crouch against the frost, their tails hidden under the metro's soaring peaks. Such is the reality of homeless in America disparity that won't be dismissed. While the hardship grows, it poses a painful inquiry. How long may we honor liberty when so many are stuck without a spot to name home? Press the heart icon, react, and post, since this report is too vital to overlook. The wakeful metropolis and broken visions. New York's lively spirit throbs across its blocks, yet under the exterior, a grim truth endures. The town, formerly a signal of promise and chance, currently has above 100,000 residents hunting for refuge each dusk. This climb, more than twice the figure from 2010, is not merely a product of fleeting hurdles. It's a disaster fueled by a lodging deficit that persists in consuming whole households. Actually, 69% of those within housing are kinfolk, with roughly 36,000 youngsters among them beginning their dawns not with meals, but with the hesitation of another light in flux. The brunt of this tragedy lands unevenly on Black and Latino neighborhoods, which comprise the bulk of refuge dwellers. The origins of this imbalance go deep, with decades of societal blocks adding to the gaps we witness currently. Increasing leases up 20% since 2020 are shoving households and people further beyond grasp, with the median cost now lingering near $3,500. Simultaneously, pay has stayed flat, compelling many tenants to surrender over half of their earnings simply to maintain a ceiling above them. Parallel to this rising lodging weight, New York has also evolved into a harbor for thousands of migrant seekers. In July specifically, over 35,000 displaced souls found themselves inside hostels, forming a massive segment of the refuge group. Those people escaping brutality and misery overseas now find themselves trapped in a distinct sort of battle as New York's framework toils to house them.
A lot of shelters are full, or either they're not for everybody that's doing drugs. And it just seems like it's no help. I'd rather have a job.
Even with the crushing trials, there are tales of grit within the struggle. A parent in Queens managing the risk of removal while attempting to hold her kin united. A soldier beneath the Williamsburg Bridge, his duty awards were swapped for a poster board.
Well, I've been out here about 2 years, man, and I tried the shelter system here. I got into numerous fights trying to protect my gear, people stealing, robbing me. The homeless situation here in New York is atrocious.
Such people, once vital to the town's design, now find themselves on the fringes, fighting to endure in a place that vows so much, yet grants so little to those who slip through the gaps. While we ponder on this homeless in America, truth it poses a vital query: if New York, the place of visions, cannot assist for its most fragile, what does that reveal about the vows of chance that our nation purports to defend? This disaster is not merely a nearby matter, it's a federal one that requires our focus. harsh figures, and a bursting pattern. By mid-2025, New York's unhoused residents had topped $158,000, representing a massive slice of the country's total. The pace of homelessness within the city has climbed abruptly, passing the federal median by a wide margin. While many hunt for refuge in tax centers, a vast quantity persist, in living on pavements in gardens or in transit hubs. Nearly half of those impacted are kinfolk involving over 146,000 youngsters, whose schooling and sense of balance are broken by their shaky housing states. This disaster has been surfacing for years. Following the 2008 downturn, homelessness stayed near 39,000. By 2015, the figure rose to 60,000 as low-cost lodging became rarer. The results of the outbreak further worsened the context, shoving the sum to above 84,000 by 2023. Currently in 2025, the digits have hit marks not witnessed since the Great Depression, with 158,000 souls without fixed housing. Each of these data points denotes actual humans, households ousted staff, losing positions, and those battling with clinic bills that snare them in webs of lack. Climbing leases and flat pay are shoving more folks into homelessness, while migrant arrivals add to the rising strain. The people behind these data are not just markers. Many are migrants escaping war or lack, while others struggle with soul sickness or habits. A large portion of non-family units are impaired, their requirements ignored by a framework pulled too thin. At the core of this tragedy are youngsters, nearly 36,000 of them, whose futures are murky by steady flux and break. This disaster poses the vital query: why is this occurring when the market is supposedly mending? The retort rests in structural flaws, lax rules, and a cracked relief net. New York's rising homeless in America is a sample of a federal matter that calls for prompt focus. Only by tackling the base factors can we hope to flip the flow and fix the aid web so gravely required. Fentanyl's muted harvester in the murk. Within the faint glow of New York's avenues, a fatal hazard stays concealed in plain view. Fentanyl, a strong man-made opioid, is causing ruin for the unhoused group, taking lives at a shocking pace. Up to 100 times firmer than morphine, fentanyl has turned into a quiet slayer for those already at their base, making every gulp a gamble. In 2023, fentanyl was blamed for roughly 80% of the town's overdose fatalities. Though the figure slightly fell in 2024, the substance still occupies a primary part in most overdose events, mainly among the unhoused. The data paint a dark image, but they don't grasp the full scope of the agony. Nearly 65% of unhoused people confess to using illegal drugs, often with fentanyl frequently masked in fake tabs or block drugs. For those living on the brink, fentanyl's hold is even firmer, mainly due to a lack of entry to healing or harm-curbing tools like naloxone, the overdose reversal agent. This is shown in a 3.2% jump in overdose fatalities, matching with an uptick in homelessness, marking the deep tie between the two tragedies. The Bronx and central Brooklyn are notably struck where fentanyl persists in taking lives in hostels and on the blocks. While overdose digits slightly dipped in 2024, the issue stays grave, particularly among young folks in hostels. Opioid habit among teens has soared by 168% from 2018 to 2022. In one painful event, a 4-year-old youth in a Brooklyn hostel was near fentanyl, proving how broad the drug's reach has turned. Why is fentanyl so fatal for the homeless in America? Solitude plays a major part. Many are left without entry to mending help or the vital gear to guard themselves. As fentanyl grows, the town's answer to the crisis feels lacking. This is more than just a wellness matter, it's a human tragedy. To fix it, we must see the bond between habit and homelessness and move fast before more lives are gone in the murk. The absolute turbulence of imbalance. In 2025, New York's homelessness disaster has turned into an absolute turbulence, a crushing blend of fiscal hurdles, social unrest, and structural flaws. At the heart of it all is the lodging crisis. With average leases climbing to $3,500 and a grave deficit of low-cost housing, many households are shoved to the edge. Since 2016, the figure of removals has surged with price hikes and flat pay leaving thousands without fixed housing. Kinfolk, mainly those with youngsters, find themselves snared in crowded living spots or pushed into hostels. The turbulence is deepened by social matters. Roughly 30% of unhoused people battle with mental wellness or habits, but only a tiny portion get the aid they gravely require. The loss of TASC's risky living setups and the collapse of relief nets add to the climb in homelessness. Recent arrivals, many escaping fiscal misery from other zones of the land or overseas, add to the strain on New York's already taxed assets. Above 50,000 fresh souls have joined the hostel network since 2022, with many of them hunting for safety in short-term housing, but never finding balance. The base of the issue rests in a framework that fails to focus on those in need. Trims to federal lodging bankrolls and poor aid for migrants and low-wage groups have worsened the context. The richest zones of the town persist in thriving, while those at the base fight for endurance. Black New Yorkers face removal at 6 times the pace of others, and migrants, mainly Latinos and Asians, face extra blocks in obtaining housing. This isn't a fluke, it's the product of rules that favor builders over kinfolk and gain over people. But within this turbulence, there is promise. If we can tackle the base factors of homeless in America and imbalance, we can lessen the strains that are ripping apart so many lives. Until then, this disaster will persist as a grim sign of the paths we take as a world. While we steer this trial, we must ask ourselves, how can we create a tomorrow that raises everyone up, not just the favored few? Hidden blemishes on the urban spirit. The homelessness tragedy in New York transcends data. It leaves hidden blemishes on the town's very spirit. For those surviving on the blocks, the damage is gradual and tireless. Well-being wanes quickly due to the weather, with contagious ailments jumping 40% among the unhoused. Youngsters are struck hardest, with above 146,000 school-age youth enduring homelessness during the past year. Their schooling is broken by steady shifts from one refuge to another, making dropout figures soar. 1 in 5 misses half of the academic year, not from lack of drive, but due to the flux they endure. On a broader scale, the town is showing signs of pressure. Block offense has climbed by 15% in dense, unhoused zones, not from malice, but misery. Minor thefts and clashes are born from famine and despair. The wellness framework is taxed with urgent rooms packed by avoidable issues costing billions in crisis care rather than tackling base factors. Travel, a vital part of the town's market, has seen a 5% fall, with guests naming the clear sight of homelessness as a turnoff. Fiscally, the town endures a loss of nearly $10 billion yearly as those hit by homelessness fight to keep fixed tasks, while output is lost to sickness and flux. The town's outlay on refugees has peaked at $4 billion in 2025, shifting funds from other vital aids like schools and transit. Amid this, we spot people like a soldier at Grand Central Station, once a guard of liberties now fighting to endure in the murk of the town he once aided. His tale isn't rare, it shows a wider breakdown of frameworks that should aid, not desert. These veiled marks are a hint that homeless in America doesn't just hurt people, it harms the whole town. As the vivid lights of New York waver, they throw long shadows, coaxing us to face the growing tragedy and the ethical price of letting such pain endure. Light, following the gale. Within the chaos, there are hints of movement, tiny yet vital strides toward fixing balance. Mayor Adams' team, despite its hurdles, has achieved notable gains. By August 2025, above 3,500 unhoused New Yorkers were shifted from the blocks and rails into fixed housing, a major feat fueled by care groups under the Subway Safety Plan. Started in 2022, the strategy merged social experts into the transit network, helping over 1,000 souls find steady lodging, changing their nights from drifting into calm safety. Furthermore, the town spent $650 million to tackle the urgent needs of the unhoused. This funding grew capacity with 900 fresh spots for fleeing youth, 100 extra places for unhoused young adults, and the Bridge to Home project, which partners with NYC Health Plus hospitals to grant housing with counseling, food, and habit care. These steps aim to lessen urgent room trips and help lighten the load on the blocks. The town has also made major gains in lodging output, with 33 7-11-15 low-cost units built in 2025, smashing marks for the third straight year. This involves a 1,962 aid homes for the fragile, and through the Housing Connect draw, above 10,000 households were tied to steady housing. Since 2022, nearly 12,500 kinfolk have been shifted into fixed homes, granting long-term balance for over 26,000 people. Charities like the Coalition for the Homeless persist in holding a vital part. In 2024, they aided over 17,000 chronic cases, a 32% jump from the prior year. Their youth schemes, gear drives, and summer camps grant aid where civic assets fall short. While these steps are worthy, much more is called for. A Housing First plan could grant 100,000 low-cost units over 5 years, while mobile soul wellness teams could step into crises before they grow. Ties with firms could assist those who have been shut out of the labor force. With steady focus and federal aid, these acts can snap the cycle of homeless in America, changing healing into fixed renewal for New York. An individual pondering reverberations from a lifetime of observing. For decades, I've strolled the blocks of New York, witnessing its change from a town full of promise to one toiling under the load of imbalance. At 72, I've watched America's visions climb and fall as rules undid the relief nets my folks' age group formed, leaving the most fragile behind. Homelessness to me is not just a rule matter. It's the quiet hint that liberty means little when so many have nothing. In New York, where I reared my kids, I've divided snacks with soldiers whose eyes bear secret tales, and watched parents whose power passes the town's soaring peaks. These meetings stay with me more than any news. Currently in my final years, I feel a call to caretaking, not gloom. We possess the assets and skill, but what we lack is the drive. The GI Bill boosted a generation. Why can't we fund people like that? Once more, fentanyl's cost is grave since we treat signs, not cures. From my Brooklyn deck, I spot promise in tiny acts, workers, backers, and those urging for shift. My time is waning, but the flame moves to you. Peer into the eyes of those on the blocks, they are our peers. And in aiding them, we find our homeless in America relief. Out of the darkness, a demand for movement. In 2025, New York's homelessness is a mirror of our shared verdicts formed by focuses in accounts and polls. The marks are deep from teeming hostels to the hold of fentanyl, but so is our capacity for shift. Let's pick fairness, grow lodging, and knit care into every nook of the town. Change New York from a shining metropolis to a merciful one where no soul rests under the stars, but under safe roofs with honor renewed. The light is there. Shall we take the stride to greet it? While we face the reality of homeless in America, we must realize that every policy represents a person and every budget reflects a value.